know what these emojis mean? Okay, I know you know, but for now I cannot say the answer outright. I don't want my account to get banned right after I just created it. And this photo here shows a girl who posted on social media that she wanted to cook. Her original intention was simply to share the food she made, but she ended up receiving a lot of unwanted advances, with people asking her if she wanted to have sex. This happened because many people misinterpreted her use of cooking as a euphemism for having sex. Additionally, numerous comments expressed disappointment when they realized that her cooking was not what they had assumed. I know you might have a lot of confusions right now. No worries, I will explain later. Welcome to Food-Based Sexual Algospeak. What is Algospeak? Algospeak refers to social media users deliberately altering or substituting words when creating or sharing online content to bypass content social media AI moderation. They employ metaphors, homophones, spelling variations, emojis, and other methods to express restricted content. Word substitution itself is not a new thing. For example, to avoid saying God's name casually, people replaced it with softened sound alikes like gosh and golly. What makes Algospeak unique is that people swap out the banned words to avoid AI censorship specifically. Food-based sexual Algospeak is the spicy subgenre. Eggplant for the male situation, peach for the bud, cherry for virginity, and cooking or stir-frying for making love. In Chinese, cooking, 做饭, and making love, 做爱, share the same syllable 做, and honestly, the two actions even look kind of similar. With all that tossing and turning. Of course, food-based sexual speak is not a new thing. Regarding the nature of the language, philosopher Nietzsche believed that all the linguistic activity is essentially rhetorical games. Using food to metaphorize sex and emotion is common in both Western and Eastern cultures, with long-standing connection between sex and food. For example, classical Chinese philosophy states appetite and desire are basically the same instinct. The Bible scored the forbidden fruit. While acknowledging the historical origins and the cultural background of using food to metaphorize sex, and recognizing that both are neutral matters, this usage in the digital area carries more complex and novel causes and impacts. Let me show you why on 3 levels. Here's the first level. You'd think being watched or censored by an algorithm would feel oppressive. The big brother, the panopticon. But online, people are kind of having a blast with it. Coming under the surveillance on the social media is largely a voluntary practice. The explanation of gift economy might be helpful here. The gift is threefold. There is the obligation to give, the obligation to receive, and the obligation for the recipient to return a gift. The gift here is, through creating these words, people gain a sense of identity in the entertainment-first area through their creativity and sharing of community language. Because these kinds of words are, you know what I mean. This kind of game is interesting, but this food-based sexual Algospeak inevitably impacts all the food-related behaviors and people in our daily lives. Level 2. Think about it. In literary works, which kind of food are women usually compared to? And if we had to assign genders to these foods, which foods seem to be more masculine, which are more feminine? Just use your first instinct. Notice the pattern? Women get coded as sweet stuff, fruit, cherries, sugar. Men get coded as the meat, sausage, beef, lamb. That's not random. Researchers have found it smuggles in a whole rule book about how bodies are supposed to be. I'm doing this little test is to make everyone notice that the language around the food is actually connected ourselves as human beings. Foucault inherited Nietzsche's analysis of language. He argued that language itself is never neutral. In society, once discourse is produced, it is immediately subjected to certain procedures of control, selection, organization, and redistribution. Once originally neutral terms about food are occupied by sexual connotations, people inevitably lose the ability to use them in normal. Those unaware of these secondary meanings face invisible discrimination and bullying. The knowing smiles, the teasing, Using food for cheap sex jokes degrades the kitchen. For many people, the kitchen is the workplace they rely on to make a living. Especially for immigrants, the working class, especially for women. The kitchen is a power, its skill, its identity. There's this film, The Taste of Things, where the woman asks her husband, "Am I your chef or am I your wife?" Chef means power. And then Algospeak comes along and turns all of that into a punchline. The woman posting an honest cooking tutorial gets a comment section full of disappointed people. Their real work becomes a sex joke they didn't agree to. Level 3. Who is supposed to fix this? Short answer, everyone, which basically means no one. Before the internet's birth, it was accepted that democratic nation-states have the responsibility to provide some degree of moral guidance or protection to media users. However, with the advancement of neoliberalism and new challenges posed by the internet, many democratic states have curtailed their regulatory efforts and thrown the responsibility onto the platforms. And platforms don't moderate for your well-being. Platforms instead adopt self-interested and self-regulatory strategies to maximize profit and minimize compliance costs. Platforms rely on blanket algorithms rather than nuanced human review. And that is exactly why you get this absurd split. A girl's literal cooking posts get flagged for porn after being reported. The algorithm had learned the slang and couldn't tell the difference. And here's the slippery part everyone hides behind. It's not me, it's the algorithm. The platform blames the code. The moderator blames the policy. The code blames the data. Responsibility just evaporates. The philosopher Bauman called this adiaphorization, splitting system off from the morality. But the algorithm isn't neutral. It's just the algorithm is the most powerful excuse that ever invented. So why should I care about the eggplant emoji? Because it's never about emoji itself. I don't have a clean fix. Nobody does. But maybe the first step is just noticing. Noticing that when we laugh at the food-based sexual emoji and cooking. For the sake of this video, I went out and I bought an eggplant. Please don't be disappointed just because it turned out to be a regular recipe.